questions 1 through 10 on the 2008 Grade 10 AMC 10A. A bakery owner turns on his donut machine at 8:30 a.m. At 11:10 a.m., the machine has completed 1/3 of the day's job. At what time will the donut machine complete the job? So from 8:30 till 11:10, that represents 1/3 of the job. So that is 2 hours and 40 minutes. So we have to multiply this by 3 to get the total amount of time. And if you do, you get an exact amount of 8 hours. So he starts at 8:30, and 8 hours later, he completes the job. So 8:30 a.m. plus 8 hours brings you to exactly 4:30 p.m. And therefore, the answer to number 1 is D. A square is drawn inside a rectangle, and the ratio of the width of the rectangle to the side of the square is 2 to 1. The ratio of the rectangle's length to its width is 2 to 1. What percentage of the rectangle's area is inside the square? So first we have a rectangle, and then we've got some square, like this, approximately. And they're giving you some clues here. The first thing that they tell you is that the ratio of the width of the rectangle, which we'll call W, to the side of the square is 2 to 1. So that means the side of the square is W over 2. It's half, basically. And then they tell you that the ratio of the rectangle's length to its width is 2 to 1. So that means the length is essentially equal to 2 times W. So now we need to figure out the percentage of the rectangle's area that is inside the square. So the square has an area of W over 2 squared. And we have to divide this by the area of the rectangle, which will be length times width. The length is 2W and the width is just W. So here we got W squared over 4 all over 2W squared. And if you invert and multiply, you get W squared over 4 times 1 over 2W squared. And this just becomes 1 over 8. And 1 over 8 in terms of a percentage is 12.5%. So number 2, the answer is A. For the positive integer n, let bracket n denote the sum of all positive divisors of n, with the exception of n itself. For example, bracket 4 is 1 plus 2, which is 3. Bracket 12 is 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 6, which is 16. What is bracket 6, then bracket. So first just look at the first one. So this is the sum of the divisors of 6, which would be 1 plus 2 plus 3, and that is 6. So if we again take the bracket of that, like this part here, we just figured out was 6. So it just becomes bracket 6 again, which is again 1 plus 2 plus 3. And then if you do it another time, which is what they want, it's basically 6 again. So it's just a whole bunch of 6s in a row. It never changes. So number 3, the answer is A. Suppose that 2/3 of 10 bananas are worth as much as 8 oranges. How many oranges are worth as much as half of 5 bananas? So we got 2/3 of 10 bananas is equal to 8 oranges. So that means 20 over 3b is equal to 8o, like that. And I guess if you isolate for b, you get that b is equal to 24 over 20o. And if you lower this to 6 over 5, that would be in lowest terms, like that. Okay, so they want how many oranges, so a certain number of oranges is equal to 1/2 of 5 bananas. Okay, so 5 over 2b is equal to some number of O. All right, well, I guess we just have to manipulate what we found here. If we put the O on one side, just isolate for it, you get 5 over 6b. And 5 over 6 looks very similar to 5 over 2. We just have to multiply both sides by 3. And if you do, you get 5 over 2b is equal to 3o. And there you go. This is a 3. So number 4, the answer is C. Which of the following is equal to the product given below? So this is the heart of this question, that formula, and they've given you quite a few of them, and you can probably just solve it from what they've given, but I'll just write a few more. For n equals 4, this would become 20 over 16. For n equals 5, it would become 4 times 5, which is 20, 24 if you add the 4, like that. And then I'll just do the last one. Well, actually, the second last one, the last one they give you. The last one was when n is equal to 2004 divided by 4, which is 501. So the second last one would be n equals to 500. And that would give you a denominator of 2000 exactly, and the numerator would be 2004. Okay, so you probably already saw the pattern. Basically, these cancel. All of these, as you can see. So the only thing you're left with when everything cancels is just 2008 over 4. And that is equal to 502. So number 5, the answer is B. A triathlete competes in a triathlon in which the swimming, biking, and running segments are all of the same length. The triathlete swims at a rate of 3 kilometers per hour, bikes at a rate of 20 kilometers per hour, and runs at a rate of 10 kilometers per hour. Which of the following is closest to the triathlete's average speed in kilometers per hour for the entire race? So we've got the swim, the bike, and the run. And let's just say all the distances are x, 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 and x. The speeds, however, are a little bit different. They're 3, 20, and 10. So speed is equal to distance over time. That's our formula. And any variation of this formula, for example, time is equal to distance over speed. All right. So the time for each of these components, I'm sorry, this S and S might get confusing. I'll just put SP, speed, SW, swim. Yeah, sometimes we get the same letters. All right, so the time for the swim is going to be distance over speed. So that's going to be x over 3. The time for the bike is x over 20, and the time for the run is x over 10. Now we have to figure out the total average speed. So we're going to use this formula. Speed is equal to distance over time. The distance for all of them is 3x, and the time, we've got to add up these guys. So that looks like x over 3 plus x over 20 plus x over 10. And I've got to get a common denominator. So we got 3x. Let's see here. Common denominator is probably 60. So that's going to give me 20x plus 3x plus 6x. And then invert and multiply 3x over 1 times 60 over 29x. The x's cancel, so I'm just left with 180 over 29. And that is closest to about 6, approximately, if you were to do that. 180 over 30 would be exactly 6, so 180 over 29 is approximately 6, and that's what they want, closest to. So number 6, the answer is 6, which is choice D. The fraction simplifies to which of the following? So the first thing I'm going to do is just multiply out the exponent. So instead of 2008 to the power of 2, you just multiply it, so it would be 4016. And similarly, instead of 2006 to the exponent 2, it'll be just 4012. And similarly on the bottom, 3 to the power of 4014 minus 3 to the power of 4010. And now I can factor out a very large number on top and bottom. And that number is going to be 3 to the power of 4010. And if I do, what will be left is 3 to the power of 6 minus 3 to the power of 2. And on the bottom, if I factor out the exact same 3 to the power of 4010, I get left with 3 to the power of 4 minus just 1. So these guys cancel, and these are pretty decent numbers. They're not too big is what I meant by that. So we got 729 minus 9 all over 81 minus 1. And this is 720 over 80, which is equal to 9. So number 7, the answer is E. Heather compares the price of a new computer at 2 different stores. Store A offers a 15% off the sticker price, followed by a $90 rebate. Store B offers 25% off the same sticker price with no rebate. Heather saves $15 by buying the computer at store A instead of store B. What is the sticker price of the computer in dollars? Store A, 15% off, so we are going to pay 0.85, and I'll call the sticker price P. And then once you do, you get an additional $90 rebate, discount. And then store B, you're going to pay 75% of the price because the discount is 25%. So you're paying 0.75p, and that's it. There's no rebate. But they tell you that if you compare these two values, that this one is $15 less. So that basically means that this is equal to this minus 15, like that. So this is the mathematical equation we get from the information in the question stem. Solving for this, we got, let's see here, bring this over, and that will be 0.85 minus 0.75, so 0.1p. And then bring the 90 over, and we'll get 75. So multiplying both sides by 10, you get p is equal to $750. And therefore, number 8, the answer is A. Suppose that 2x over 3 minus x over 6 is an integer. Which of the following statements must be true about x? Let's combine this fraction. Multiply top and bottom by 2. We get 4x minus x all over 6. And that is 3x over 6, which is x over 2. So we are just down to x over 2. So let's go through the answer choices. It is negative. Well, that doesn't seem like it must be true. It is even, but not necessarily a multiple of 3. That has to be true. X over 2, the only way x over 2 can be an integer is if x is even. So for example, 6 or 12 or 18 or whatever. But it doesn't have to be a multiple of 3, right? So this looks like it's true. Let's just read the other ones. Is a multiple of 3, but not necessarily even. It has to be even, right? If it was a multiple of 3, let's say it was 3. Well, 3 over 2 is not an integer, so that's wrong. D is a multiple of 6, but not necessarily a multiple of 12. Well, that is true, but this question is asking which of the following statements must be true. It doesn't have to be a multiple of 6. For example, the x could be 8. And if x is 8, 8 over 2 is going to be an integer. So it doesn't have to be a multiple of 6. And the same logic can apply to choice C, that it doesn't have to be a multiple of 12. So long story short, number 9, the answer is B, because it must be even. Each of the sides of a square S1 with an area 16 is bisected, and a smaller square S2 is constructed using the bisection points as vertices. The same process carried out on S2 to construct an even smaller square S3. What is the area of S3? Okay, so first we've got our first square, and then they take the points that are, I guess, like that, joining the centers, and they create another square like this. And then they do that once more using the centers of this. So this is approximately how this is going to be. Okay? Not perfect, but that's okay. So they tell you the first big one has an area of 16. So if it has an area of 16, the side lengths must be 4. Now, this was a bisection point, right? So that means from here to here is 2. And that's 2. And this is 2. So we can immediately figure out this side using Pythagoras. And I will call that side, whatever you want to call it, x is fine. So 2 squared plus 2 squared is x squared. This means 4 plus 4, which is 8, is x squared. So x is root 8, which is 2 root 2. So that means this whole thing is 2 root 2. Now we've taken bisection points, so that means from here to here is just root 2 because it's half. Correct? So that means this is also going to be root 2. And this is a square, so that's 90 degrees, and therefore now we can figure out that. We'll just call that s, s for side. So again, using Pythagoras, root 2 plus root 2 squared is s squared. So we got 2 plus 2 is s squared, and s squared therefore is 4. What they're asking for is the area of S3. S3 was the small square. The area is going to be s squared, and we just figured out s squared. It's 4. So number 10, the answer is E.